Hello and welcome to today's edition of Your Questions Answered with Father Gruner. I'm John Veneri. We take your questions on this program that you send us via email. Father Gruner answers them. We have discussions about them. And please continue to send them to us. You see the email at the bottom of the screen here, questions@thefatimacenter.com. Today's question is, can you please provide a source to find a complete list of all Catholic dogmas, and a definition of dogma would also be helpful.
So, John, you have here a book called Denzinger. Why don't you just show this to our viewers here?
Yes, this I don't know that there contains any book that the question was all dogmas. I don't know that you have them all in one book, but this is a book that was compiled of dogmas of the church from the time of the apostles. Well, this book goes until about 1958, I think.
Yeah. And when it was first written, it was in the 1800s.
Yes, yeah, the Source of Catholic Dogma, Denzinger. It's by Denzinger.
We might point out, you made, because going through in my studies, well, it's all here. Well, no, that's not quite true. It's not all here. All the dogmas are not listed here. In fact, I have been in a library in which you see the Greek fathers and then the Latin fathers, and they extend for about paper thin, for about 20 feet long, and books about 1.5 feet high. All of them compiled there. So, I mean, all the dogmas are listed, among other things. When the fathers of the church agree on a subject, it's dogma. When your 21 councils, kind of, except the 21st council didn't define anything, so the 20 councils that did define something, or could have defined something, those are dogma. You have, with the ordinary and universal teaching of the Catholic Church, is all dogma. So it's hard to put it in one place, although what we compendiums, certainly the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Creed of the Council of Trent, the Creed of Athanasius, all of these contain the dogmas of the Church. You must believe them to save your soul. But in turn, for some rarefied point, now you also got a book like Ott, who starts taking these definitions and putting them into some sort of order for you.
That's a systematic book of theology on dogma, yes.
Yeah. And then it tells you the various levels of certitude.
Yes, but this is just what the Church pronounced, the Council of Trent, Vatican I, the Syllabus of Errors, excerpts from Pius X Pascendi. But I'm just giving more modern documents going all the way back to the popes, say in the 7th century, condemning the iconoclasts, the Christological points of the first centuries. It's all represented in here.
Yes.
Even if not every single dogma of the church
and not the whole not the whole statement either.
No, usually the meat of it.
Yeah.
You get the meat of it.
But and sometimes you have to understand this. I mean, you have to read the whole. For example, the idea that that the Pope can change the Mass from the Old Mass to the New Mass is actually condemned in the Council of Trent. It's there. When he who thinks that a pastor of any rank whatsoever, that includes the Pope. He's a pastor. He's the highest ranking pastor, but he's a pastor of any rank whatsoever, quicumque in the Latin. So it can change the received and approved rite of Mass into a new Mass, or sacraments, but it's included in the Mass. Let him be anathema. It's Canon 13, Session 7 of the Council of Trent. Now, but that's just one passage. Father Kramer has written a book on that. Just on that one definition, it's 200 pages long. To explain and of course it goes back to the Council of Florence as well. My point being that, yes, if you want a place to find the most quoted or the most statements but even these things are not all of the same weight.
Yes.
You have the definitions, which are dogma, which are of Catholic, what is divine and Catholic faith. And you have other statements which are still true, but the precise meaning are not as clearly chiseled out as the definitions are.
And also, again, the book is called The Sources of Catholic Dogma by Denzinger. And
there's also an edition called Denzinger Schoenmester,
yes,
which is another editor who, after he died, added to this book as well.
But the way a lot of people use this book is because it's set up for it. You have an alphabetical index where you can look up a given point, but it also has index by subject.
Yes.
So that if you want to look up, for example, indulgences, well, a whole collection of references that sends you to the book about the church teaching on indulgences is all in that place, or extramunction.
And the book is divided also, those numbers refer to paragraph numbers.
Yes.
So it's not by page number, it's not enough. You have to go to the paragraph.
Yeah.
And so
but it's we all use it. It's a very useful book, and it was a good question to ask.
Yes.
But
I would also suggest that they read my latest book on this thing here, because we do talk about dogma, and that dogma cannot change, and crucial truths to save your soul. And the dogma is essential. This is, of course, the secret talks about this. Third Secret Fatima talks about, in Portugal, the dogma of faith will always be preserved. We don't know what follows after that. We know Our Lady said something else. That is the beginning of the third secret. But obviously, it talks about dogma. Dogma is essential for our salvation. It's not the only thing necessary, but it's certainly necessary. And people so dogma is what the church has taught infallibly. And whether it's by a solemn definition, or whether it's by the ordinary and universal magisterium.
Which means it's been taught consistently from the beginning.
Yeah. Ordinary and universal. Universal meaning not just everywhere in the world, but
for all time.
For all time.
Yes.
That's the important thing. And so the ordinary, we know the ordinary universal. Can there be two popes? No. It can only be one pope at a time. Only one pope. How do we know that? Well, all I have to do is open my Tridentine Missal, and it says, I pray for Pope X, singular. Mm-hmm. There can only be one pope at a time. Is that infallible? Yes. The ordinary universal magisterium has told me that. Now, I'm sure every Catholic should know that anyway, but if you're looking for a definition of that, you don't have to look any further than your Tridentine Missal and find it right there. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that, is it defined there? No, it just says we're paying for Pope, singular, mm-hmm. And it's always, and the practice of the Church has always been for the person who is the Pope reigning today. And it's been taught that same way from day one to the present. That's the ordinary universal magisterium.
Well, just the last point we can make on this is the modern, actually modernist of all people usually try to do this, to say that we're only bound to those points of doctrine that have been infallibly defined by the extraordinary magisterium, say through a council or an ex cathedra pronouncement of a pope. But if it's not been infallibly defined that way, then it's up for grabs.
Well, that's
then we can change it or massage it or have a new way of looking at it.
Well, of course, the definition for a pope's infallible definition, the definition itself, as you know, was taken from Vatican Council I in 1870. And in that same passage, it talks about the popes. The same document talks about popes' infallible definitions. Also talks about the ordinary and universal magisterium. It's the same document. They're both, mm-hmm. And they say very clearly, the extraordinary magisterium of infallible definitions by a council with the approval of the Pope, or by the Pope by himself, is infallible, but also the ordinary universal magisterium is also infallible. And it's right there in the same document. So how are they going to, anyway, of course, don't ask them to be consistent or scholarly for that matter.
So anyway, these are the books that we would recommend. The Source of Catholic Dogma by Denzinger, and Crucial Truths to Save Your Soul by Father Gruner. And that's all for this program. We will see you next time.